Alright guys, so you've read the title. Simple premise, I know. Let's get into it. So here's my friend here. He's the guy who introduced me to the Soulsborne series. If you're wondering why I call my list the Dark Souls tier list and he called his the Soulsborne tier list, it's because he was being more truthful. I called mine the Dark Souls tier list because Dark Souls tier lists apparently in the Google Analytics gets more like results. So more people search up Dark Souls tier list rather than Soulsborne. So yeah, that was me being a bit of a sneaky fucker. Anyway, it's time to react to my friend's tier list on Soulsborne games by From Software. We were considering doing non-FromSoft games, but I kind of pushed like FromSoft elitism, and yeah, so we did FromSoft, and let's get into it. Already, I noticed that Night Rain isn't there. Now, what I think might be the case is that he hasn't got enough time to play Night Rain fully, so he doesn't want to judge it before, like he doesn't want to say it's bad or good before he gives it a chance. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's see what opinions differ and whatnot.
Good day, folks. This is going to be my first ever tier list that I've ever attempted. So, a friend of mine has also done one, and we're going to compare them
That's
after, so
me.
all sorted. But
He's talking about me.
I'm just going to see how it goes.
Unless he's talking about someone else. Are you cheating on me?
I'm not
No,
familiar
I'm
with this
joking.
type of format, so let's just wing it and see where we end up. So we're going with the Soulsborne series. I've actually played all of the games here. The only one that's not on here right now is Night Rain. That's the one I've played the least of.
Also, just so everyone knows, Kingsfield is also not on here. It's not on mine either. That's something that at some stage we need to play. Kingsfield is like the first ever FromSoft game for people who don't know. It's the Demon Souls before Demon Souls.
I probably won't bother including it for that reason. I don't think I've played it enough to really have a full understanding of it yet, in terms of rating it. But anyway, and
Okay.
we do have the remakes and remasters here as well. I'm not actually sure I'm gonna rate them differently. We'll probably go as we go.
Okay,
I won't
interesting.
be doing them in like a chronological kind of order, even though like I'll do Demon Souls and then the remake of Demon Souls, but then it'll go into Dark Souls line.
Now, I haven't played the original games, I've only played the remakes. And I think the one that's the most different is the Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin compared to the original Dark Souls. I saw a video on someone saying that Dark Souls 2 is a good game and the remake ruined it. Now, as you've seen in my list, I actually I'm a Dark Souls 2 defender, which Asmond Gold, who's in the title of the video, would not approve of.
Kind of thing, even though the Demon Souls remake obviously only came out recently. So,
By the way, why is Dark Souls 2 a teen game? What the fuck? Okay.
let's see how it goes. These are the first ever one, so bear with me. Right, so the original Demon Souls is the game that literally introduced me to the entire series. At the time, I did not have internet on my PlayStation, so I was literally stuck playing that game on my own. And I do remember that my brother was the one who originally had it, and he was like, "Oh, this is more your kind of thing," because he just couldn't do it. And so he was like, "Oh yeah, but you have a go." And it basically is the game that turned me into a masochist, because it was just like, yes, each time you die, I'll come back for more. So yeah, it's got a special place in my heart, to be fair, Demon Souls. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm going to break these down try and break it down in terms of, what did I get? Demon Souls, sorry. Yeah, story,
I'm
bosses, gameplay
just gonna really quick harp it up a little bit. Sorry, guys.
mechanics, enemies, and the world building. So
Oh, it's more. His video is more structured than mine. Okay.
to be
Uh-oh.
fair, majority of these games, I would argue that they don't have story, yet they do. The story's not blatantly thrown at you, except for Sekiro.
I have to. Even for Sekiro, I'd have to watch a video essay to even know what like any of these games are about. I get like the core concept of not giving up and like letting things go and all that sort of stuff, but like specific characters and specific items and all that kind of stuff, I don't really know a whole lot about a whole lot of stuff,
Maybe.
to be honest.
Maybe. A little.
I saw a video on Elden. Well, I didn't watch it fully, but I seen it come up in my recommendeds. There's a video on Elden Ring explaining all the lore, and it's like fucking 9 hours. Um, I might be crazy enough to watch a video like that though.
Bit in Demon Souls, I suppose. But yeah, the majority of the actual story, the lore of the world and everything, is typically within the items of the games. So story's not going to be really a big factor in anything decided by you. It's mainly going to be like gameplay mechanics and stuff like that. So, right, well, starting with Demon Souls then. So, the original, I absolutely loved it, to be honest. I know I've gone back to it recently, and I've played the remake as well. And I didn't enjoy it as much. Well, especially the remake, because they. Okay, let's just stick with the original, sorry. The original brought me into the whole series and everything. It's got pretty good enemy types. The bosses, they're kind of. They look cool, but to be fair, they're very gimmicky. That's right.
It might be too late for this, but let me just give a prediction on where I think he's gonna place everything. I didn't expect him to place Demon Souls high. I thought he was gonna place Demon Souls pretty low. Dark Souls, I think he's gonna place near either number one or number two. Then Dark Souls 2, I think he's gonna place low. Dark Souls 3. I'm honestly not sure where he's gonna place Dark Souls 3. He might place it low. The only reason I think he might place it low is because I've kind of shit talked that game, talking about how it's not really like relevant in this era. And he seemed to agree with me, but maybe it'll be different when he's actually putting it on a tier list. But Bloodborne, I think he's gonna place higher than I placed it, for sure. Sekiro, I think he's gonna place Sekiro very high, either one or two, and then Elden Ring, I think he might put Elden Ring high as well. If I'm to guess, he'd put Dark Souls 1 first, Sekiro 2, and Elden Ring 3. And then after that, I wouldn't be too sure. Maybe he'd put Bloodborne next, then maybe Demon Souls, and then Dark Souls 2. And then, oh no, Dark Souls 3 somewhere before Dark Souls 2. I think he's gonna put Dark Souls 2 lowest. All right, let me let him go.
Back to them. They're very gimmicky, kind of a rinse and repeat kind of thing. Only a handful of them are actually like interesting fight. Maybe the Flame Lurker and.
I'll stop interrupting, but early on into the series is where gimmick bosses are more forgivable, because you need to kind of experiment to see what players actually like, And even nowadays, it's not a bad idea to experiment with new ideas. You don't, if everyone is Consort Radahn, then Consort Radahn kind of loses his shine. So, you know.
No, and the penetrator, like and I can't remember his name now. He's one of the last bosses. Yeah, only a handful of the bosses in that game are actually worth enjoying the fight with. Like you could choose one of them, one of the main bosses.
Penetrator is a bit of a kinky name.
You can literally just shoot her from the top of the entrance with some arrows until she dies, and well, then you've only got to deal with that other guy that's with her. But you already count as a boss win as soon as you beat her, so it doesn't really matter. So, anyway, like I said, this is the start of the series. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Once I did have the internet, me and my friend played it together loads. We had co-op on that, was great. It was a nightmare, in terms of how long it would take to enter each other's game.
I will have more to say about other games. It's just Demon Souls. I haven't played it, so I can't like
general,
agree or disagree here.
So because it's the start of everything. Oh, sorry, enemy types. The enemy types are fairly varied, to be fair. Quite a few interesting ones. I quite like the skeletons in it, even though skeletons are typically annoying as fuck.
Skellies.
Yeah, there's quite a variety of them. In terms of the world, though, it's just like you go from one section to the other, and then you use these main archstones to go between them. So it's cool in its own way, but that part didn't really mean too much to me. So originally I was going to put this in a B, but considering it is the start of everything, I'm actually going to give it an A. Because there's some really cool stuff where you can use different mechanics of like archery and stuff, which kind of fades out in the later games, but you can use that as your advantage and stuff.
Some people might not like having mercy on like the older games, but if you don't kind of do that, then it's just gonna be all like, it's gonna look like a release order. So you kind of have to give the older games like some credit and like rate them kind of for the time that they were made in. Because if you just hold them to their limitations from the time period they were made, and like you forget about all the legacy and nostalgia and all that kind of stuff, then it's just the older games would be at too unfair of an advantage of a they'd be at a disadvantage is what I'm trying to say.
Certain spells, you can break the game quite easy. But I will follow up with the second one, and I will actually argue that the remake is in a lower tier. So I know I'm skipping quite a bit here, but
that's kind of why Dark Souls 3 was, to me, not in a high regard as some of the other games, because it didn't really innovate compared to the games surrounding it. But yeah, let me move on. I already made my tier list.
My reasoning for putting the remake in a lower tier is that like it did make improvements on the original in terms of mechanics and that, but unfortunately that fleshed out the clunkiness of the original, and I don't know, it made the bosses far too easy, because they actually improved the combat style. It was far cleaner and everything else. Yeah, it's a beautiful looking game. I got no
the OG had the clunk charm.
complaints in terms of the actual game, but it just made the original look bad in that respect. No, no, the original still looked good. I'm fucking up my own words, but yeah.
If I know what he's trying to say, if you only judge the original off the remake, it would look like piss easy and kind of like a shit game. To me, who's only seen the remake, that was kind of my opinion for a while. You know.
yeah, no, it actually worked. It made the original look bad in terms of like if you were to revamp it to nowadays kind of thing. As I say, Demon Souls was the starting point of this kind of mechanic. Um, yeah, and the remake, I can't remember who done it. I think it was Blue something. But anyway, no, actually, should I move these down? Sorry, like I said at the beginning, this is the first time I've ever done a tier system, so I gotta think this through now. I'm actually gonna move them both down a tier.
I have a bit more experience with tier lists because I actually like originate from, well, in terms of when me and this guy met each other, I was like into Smash Brothers and fighting games and all that kind of stuff. I still am a little bit. Um, Less Smash and less Nintendo, but still Tekken and all that kind of stuff. And in those games, um, ranking characters is like a big part of the culture, and that's where tier lists come from. The tier list format that is used for like what's your favorite fucking McDonald's item, that originated from people writing ranking characters on in fighting games.
I still think this kind of deserves an A just for being the origin, but
I would not mind that.
I'm gonna move it down just because I know how I'm gonna grade later ones.
Yeah, okay.
So, Dark Souls 1.
He's giving himself
I
room.
absolutely love Dark Souls 1. Out of the, if you're talking 1 to 3 and Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 is definitely my favorite. Um, the whole the bosses are cool as fuck. It's got the mechanic where you can cut off certain bosses' tails and you get a weapon out of it. Why they got rid of that, I'll never know, because that was
Guess what game that is back in? That's back in Night Rain.
fun. Because some bosses, you got to go out of your way to do it with, Priscilla could be kind of annoying just because she could go invisible. The gaping dragon, getting behind him could be awkward at times. Yeah, and there's quite a lot of other bosses. You just cut off their tail or something like that, or a limb. So that was fantastic. The gameplay itself. Oh, I will point out that all these games got some glitchy kind of mechanics, so we're gonna try and overlook that. But once again, Dark Souls 1's got the advantage as well of like using arrows to take out
See,
a
I
lot of
I played the remake, so I didn't encounter a lot of glitches in Dark Souls.
enemies, different types of arrows, and because in the later games, it seems like bow and arrow seems to just like faded away as more like a bonus weapon rather than actual useful. But it was a little too broken early on, so yeah. Think what you think. Think what you want. Like Dark Souls 1's world, the enemies were really interesting, but the world itself, that's why it's my favorite. So the world itself is just like constantly built all upon itself. You can literally run. There's so many different ways of doubling back on yourself from different regions and stuff. I don't know. I just really like how the world is built upon itself. So yeah, Dark Souls 1, and wait, what was the DLC to number 1? Oh, Artorias, yeah. So the DLC, because there's no DLC to Demon Souls anyway. But Dark Souls 1's the DLC to that was really good. You got to fight Artorias, which is probably one of my favorite bosses of all time. I forgot I forgot the dragon's name now.
Calamite.
Calamite, I think that was his name. And the Magus guy, the final boss. But Artorias is the best part about it. Plus, you get a little extra story.
Magnus.
With, Sif, Doggo with the sword in his mouth. Yeah, that's pretty cool in itself, anyway.
Magnus.
Dark Souls 1, definitely my favorite of 1 to 3.
But by the time I reached Magnus, I was like, I had the Havel's armor and the big shield, and once you have that, you're kind of like broken. So yeah.
Demon Souls. So I'm actually gonna go with that being I do like world building a lot, so I debate whether to put it into S tier.
I can't believe he hasn't mentioned Anne Orlando. I love Anne Orlando. That's my favorite part of the game.
Yeah, in my mind, it deserves it. So this is the remaster. Now, I can't remember too much about what the remaster actually has. I know they edited stuff to do with, like, the Four Kings and things like that. The last time I played it, the game seemed actually easier than I
Oh
remember.
shit. Okay.
So, I'm actually going to stick this in A tier, the remaster. I'm going to put it down a notch because it just felt easier. Whether that's due to experience or not, I'm not entirely sure.
Could be experience.
Rush.
Now, I played on the Nintendo Switch port. The Nintendo Switch port is only 30 frames per second, so it's actually more sluggish and shit. And I think the original game was 60 frames per second, but because the Nintendo Switch has to be portable, it had to be taken down to 30 frames per second. So any easing up of the remaster was probably nullified by the fact that I was literally playing on half the frame rate when I was playing Dark Souls. But compared to the rest of the series, I kind of thought Dark Souls was like the original one was one of the easier ones. It seems like as the games go on, they try and make FromSoft try and make them harder. Um,
Through these. Sorry, guys. Right. Well, on to Dark Souls 2.
but I could be wrong. I didn't play the original, so there might just be something that I'm missing.
So, oh wait, these are the wrong way around. So we got the original.
It would be ridiculous if they buffed Havel's armor or that huge shield in the remaster, because if that's what they did, then that would explain it. Because once you get all that stuff, you can camp behind the shield, which is what I did. I'm not gonna lie.
And Scholar of the First Sin. Now I recall playing the original Scholar of the First Sin, and I think didn't they do like another re-release of it again on top of that? So two I think is typically the most hated one of the group by most people. Um, two seem to focus more on RPG elements, which I like anyway, but and then all the nerfing came
Adaptability.
in later on, which to be fair, Lightning was way too broken when it first came out. Yeah, there's always something broken in these games, to be fair.
I think lightning is also broken in the original Dark Souls, but I'm not 100%.
Two, I actually quite liked two. The world building was not exactly the same as one. I don't know. I felt a little lesser.
Yeah, I
A bit more
agree with that.
clunky for some reason though, despite the advancement. Like it just, I don't know. There's something off about it. But I don't think it holds up to number one.
I think what's off about it is the adaptability. You have to manually increase your invincibility stat in terms of your roll iframes, and in all the other games you don't have to do that. Your roll is as good as it gets from the start. So the fact that your roll starts out bad and then you make it good, that throws a lot of people off, and it's a big criticism people have with the game. Now, I don't think I would like Dark Souls 2 if it wasn't for all these kind of unique fuck ups, but also ideas that Dark Souls 2 had. It's definitely one of the most innovative games in the series, for sure.
And I think Miyazaki actually, he was kind of only in the background when the game was being made, so to speak, rather than actually being in the main. You know, he was just passively giving his opinions rather than actually being directly involved. He's not particularly a fan of follow-ons, apparently, but you know, whatever gives him the money at the same time.
That I'm not saying that Miyazaki is a liar, but that kind of sounds like an excuse after the game starts getting a bunch of hate that, oh, actually I wasn't that involved, but I'll take him at his word. Although it does sound like a lie, to be honest. I wonder if he was saying that before the game came out. If he was saying that before the game came out, then I'm more inclined to like fully believe him without question. But if it's only after the game started getting a bunch of backlash, he's like, oh, well, I was only in the background, then I'd kind of be more inclined to question a little bit.
So, Dark Souls 2, the enemies. A lot of the enemies are pretty cool. Some of the bosses, the DLC bosses, were kind of alright. Probably the better part of it was the DLC bosses, to be fair. Like the Alone Knight, the Fume Knight. It's difficult to remember some of them off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
Same.
Two.
I can only remember Fume Knight. I can't even remember. I get the DLC between 2 and 3 mixed up. I'm not gonna waste your time trying to remember.
If I'm putting that there, I'm feeling like 2 has to go into C.
Okay. I saw it coming. I was prepared. Damn.
This list, by the way, guys. I'm not particularly used to doing these lists.
Okay.
And Scholar first 2. So that's just got a little bit of extra added story.
It's beneath the game that made the original Demon Souls look like shit. So that kind of stings, to be honest.
Probably like updates to the mechanics and stuff, but not much. But definitely nerfed any of the.
I understand it. Anyone who has the opinion that Dark Souls 2 is a bad game, I fully understand why you would think that. I kind of like the game over reasons that are a little bit superficial, such as the despawning and just how kind of relaxing it feels to play the game and the vibe of Majula. And you know, there's the reasons I like it are kind of personal. So because they're personal reasons for the masses, I could understand why the majority of people wouldn't see it as good. Right.
Good shit. Yeah, I actually went too fast on Scholar. So I think I'm gonna put that on D. No, it's a bit too cruel. Is it too cruel?
Oh shit! Oh shit, I just realized the original Dark Souls 2 is what he was talking about there. This is the version that I play and like.
No, I think D's too cruel. At the end, it still is 2. It's just been nerfed to shit.
Nerfed?
Alright, here we go. Blood.
I know they tried to make it harder in ways that are kind of like cancer, as in filling a room full of enemies, where in the original there would only be like a couple enemies. Now it's like 5. Here's your artificial difficulty, but it's the only version I played. That's why I like it. I don't know what Dark Souls 2 original was like. I just know that people say it's a lesser version of. I mean, it's a better version of what they did with the remake, because with the remake they just wanted to make it harder. but they got confused between hard and annoying, and they made the things annoying.
I actually really, really like Bloodborne. The world setting is fantastic. The imagery of it and everything is it's all the eldritch kind of stuff. You expect Cthulhu to show up any minute. Combat. The combat was quite different, but like the parry mechanic within Bloodborne is more gun related than you can't actually parry typically. So that bothered me because the only gun I really used in that game was my cannon, and that was only in PvP. Because as long as that cannon hit the enemy, they were dead in PvP. So yeah, I didn't particularly use the gun all that much. I mean, you just stuck with hack and slash kind of approach. The world itself is actually really fucking cool. The enemies, they look so twisted and everything. Me and my friend, when we played it, we were just making up loads of different names for these enemies at the time.
It's probably a lot more bearable with a friend. I played Bloodborne on my. Okay, so Bloodborne is actually the first Dark Soulsborne game I played, and I thought it was dog shit, and I was like, oh, so this is the series that people think is like super hard, and I was like, I played it, I died a bunch, and I was like, okay, well that's too hard. I'm not playing this anymore. And then this guy introduced me. Should I say this guy or should I say fool? I don't like calling him fool, even though that's what he goes by, because fool is like a insult. I'll call him fool. All right. So this fool introduced me to not Bloodborne, the Dark Souls series, and he said I should start with Dark Souls 1. So I did. I felt like Dark Souls 1 was a way better game than Bloodborne. I still do think that. Um, but something I didn't know when I made my tier list was I thought Bloodborne came out after Dark Souls 3. The fact that Dark Souls 3 came before Bloodborne. Oh, wait. Shit. No, the fact that Bloodborne came before Dark Souls 3 is really impressive. So that's something I didn't know, and maybe Bloodborne deserves a little less shit than I gave it. But at the end of the day, it still has fucking one reborn into Mikolash, and oh my god, fuck those bosses. The fact that they're back to back is crazy. Also, the bosses that are like screaming in your face, I hate them as well. I had to mute the game. There's so many games in this series. Bloodborne is the only game where I had to mute the fucking game because the constant screaming of the bosses was just piercing my ears. And completely drowned out the music too. Like, if I go to the Bloodborne OST on YouTube, it's going to be songs I've never heard before because during that moment the song was playing, I was hearing. I
don't know what the fuck they were called, but yeah, Bloodborne's actually a fantastic game.
Really? Okay.
I'm trying to think what else. Like I say, story in all these games is kind of irrelevant.
It is impressive that it came out before Dark Souls 3. I will say that. I thought they did Dark Souls 3 and took a step backwards. That's kind of why I rated it so negatively. But it seems like in some ways Dark Souls 3 kind of took a step backwards because you don't have that really cool mechanic where you can get your health back, which is in Bloodborne, which I do think is really good, and it encourages aggressive gameplay, which even Dark Souls doesn't do. In Dark Souls, I camped a lot of the time behind the shield and just waited for openings. So
seem a little sluggish in parts, but it depends what weapons you're using. There was like there was a guy who invaded me in this game once.
I guess Bloodborne is better than I said. It still does have major flaws though, and I forget where I put it. Wherever I put it, just put it one tier above where I put it last time.
One time, me and my friend, and you know
That
we'd
that's
have the honorable.
that's where I would put it with the new information that it actually came out after Dark Souls 2 and before Dark Souls 3.
Fight, you know, one on one. And he beat us both, and then he happened to invade us a second time. And the second time he invaded us, he used our own weapons against us and destroyed us again, one by one. So, you know, credit where credit is due. That's like one of the best PvPs I've ever had in the Souls game. I don't even care that I lost. It was just like, you know, the respect factor. So, because we were in, was it Mensis? We were in one of the Nightmare worlds, so like, you know, the one with the brain. So basically, if you just stand in the open, you're gonna die. But he waited until we got out, you know, to be safe out the dodge, and then have a genuine one-on-one fight. And it was like, yeah, good respect there. One thing I will actually say about all these games, maybe not so much Bloodborne. At least
The PvP wasn't really something I considered in my list. The reason I didn't really consider it is because in these games I was going through with PvE weapons. So when people invade and they're there to noob stomp and they have the best, most meta shit for PvP, it's just completely unfair and I might as well just jump off a cliff. Um, I'd have better chance of beating the invader off at the bottom of the cliff than actually fighting them. That was most of the time. But funny enough, in the last invasion of each game, I somehow won that invasion, which if it felt good and it felt like a crazy weird coincidence that I managed to actually win when I was a little bit better at the game. But I I think I kind of got lucky because the people camping at the beginner areas, um, they're there to noob stomp, and the people invading at like later parts of the game where I was able to win was I think they were looking for like a fair enough challenge. They weren't like using overpowered spells or stuff that I've just never seen before, um, or parrying daggers where you I'm using a heavy weapon, so all they do is react to my swing and then parry, um, which was like super bullshit.
all
So
ones we've
yeah,
done so far, the amount of people that I've come across that use like hacks and stuff like that has been a nightmare. Whether there's some kind of lag switch or you know, they're just teleporting around the fucking room. I've had way too much trouble with that, or people using broken weapons and stuff within PvP. That can be annoying. I don't mind people using them against a boss for your own sake of taking a piss wherever. But in PvP, you know, it's kind of dishonorable. Anyway, Bloodborne. I'm actually going to stick Bloodborne up here, A rank, because I think it's a fantastic game. It's got plenty of places to go. You got the old dungeon thing you can do as well. You can even use other people's dungeons because a lot of them are randomly generated, whereas some are like specifically generated. And there's extra bosses in there too that are not in the main game of it. Most of the bosses within Bloodborne are actually really cool.
oh,
I
I
love
have
Dark
to
Souls 2.
disagree with that one.
Now, to be fair, when they got to 3, I think they managed to refine a lot of stuff, flesh it out better, improve upon the mechanics. It's a lot smoother, a lot cleaner. But when it comes to enemies, I feel like some of it was kind of copy and paste, especially when you get to the DLC. There's quite a number of enemies that just copy. There's some new enemies in there too that are kind of cool.
The Bloodborne DLC was definitely better than the base game. That's just something I want to say.
and some good bosses like in Ariandel and the Ring City, you know. Yeah, so some really cool concepts within that, and I do like the world design because as the Souls games have gone on, the world is like constant. It's like over centuries or whatever. It's constantly being rebuilt upon itself. There's the odd gimmick boss within Dark Souls 3, um, which is fair enough. You know, they kept the thing going. But you still don't get the tail weapons or nothing like that. So, yeah, that's a bit of a disappointment. But overall, I really enjoyed the game, but at most, I'm only going to give that an A rank.
Okay.
It's still not as good as number one to me. Number one was brilliant. You know, I do enjoy two, don't get me wrong, and three, but I don't know. I just feel like they failed to live up to one, in my opinion. Right, on to the daddy, Sekiro. Now, Sekiro is probably my favorite game of this entire thing. Which is funny because the gameplay mechanics of this encourage you, well, forces you even to block, parry. It's a major part of actually getting good in this game. And yeah, at first it was a nightmare for me because they are things that I never do in a game. Like, to me, it's like, what is block? What is that? But yeah, so even though it forced me to do it,
Not blocking in Dark Souls 1 is impressive because it's broken in Dark Souls 1.
it is literally my favorite for that reason. It's got a really cool world building, beautiful setting. There is story to Sekiro. Truth be told, story isn't exactly the most interesting, but let's be fair. Who plays a Souls game for the story anyway?
Yeah.
The prosthetics mechanic is awesome. Maneuverability, everything like that.
I think out of all the games, Elden Ring probably has by far the best story.
It actually stands out from the others in terms of how you get around and everything.
It seems like the most elaborate and like lore filled game.
Oh, and the bosses. Each boss in Sekiro,
Oh
no matter
yes.
how good you are at parrying one boss and all that, when you come across the next one, it will be completely different. And that's another thing. Each boss has its own learning curve. I just think it's an all-round well-made game. It does have its replay value. Personally, I've got all these games now on PC, so they've got except for Bloodborne and Demon Souls. So because I got them on
Is Bloodborne on PC? I don't know.
PC, I can always mod them.
I know it wasn't for a long time. I think it might be now, but I'm not sure.
To make them like more difficult or whatever, such as there's one for Sekiro called "Long May the Shadows Reflect." I believe that's what it's called anyway, and it's insanely difficult. But yeah, you can always add to the experience that way. But I'm not including mods as a deciding factor within this, despite my love for them. But yeah, Sekiro, absolutely beautiful. I love this game. That is definitely S rank. And finally, we got Elden Ring. Now, compared to most people, I actually didn't enjoy Elden Ring that much. It was nice to finally see,
Plot twist. Okay. Right. Let's see this.
open world version of the Soul series. I completed it on both PlayStation and PC. Maybe I didn't enjoy it so much just because when I played it, I was playing both simultaneously. Yeah.
Fuck that. That sounds bullshit. Playing it once is enough. I would not be able to play it twice. If I had to play it twice, I'd hate it as well. So I do not blame him for that.
I was playing it on my PC and the PlayStation.
The Elden Ring is way too big. Playing it on New Game Plus or any of that stuff, I'm never doing that. Once is more than enough. The game is fucking massive.
And then, and and it was awkward keeping track of where I'd been. It was because I was trying to copy what I'd done on the other playthrough to a degree, so I knew where I was going, but that didn't work out.
Yeah, I got lost a couple times in Elden Ring and had to literally look up a video like, hey, I'm here, what do I do? And then I had to get some coin with a fucking elevator or something. So that was annoying, yeah. But still, the game, despite that flaw, I think Elden Ring is definitely an S rank. Let's see what my boy has to say, though.
So maybe I'd have to go back and have another look at it, to be fair. But,
Oh, a third time? Hell no. You'll really hate the game if you have to play it a third time.
I don't know, it kind of felt like Skyrim in the way of, like, there's too much. Which I'm surprised to say that, to be fair, because when you play some of the earlier Souls games, you're like, oh, I could do a little bit more. Where Elden Ring is like, it's a little too much. And that's got a bunch of broken stuff as well. The world itself is actually really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's a shame he played it on two. It's a shame he played it on two consoles at the same time, or two systems at the same time.
Extra ones, like with the Ashes of War and stuff like that, the way you add them to your system, add them to your gameplay, that's really cool. Enemies, there's obviously a wide variety of enemies, but you get to a certain point, especially with the bosses, it's like, it seems a bit of copy and paste with a lot of the bosses, like. Not all, but a lot.
Yeah. There's a couple.
Which was inevitable with a game so big, to be fair. But, I don't know, I just never enjoyed it like I did the rest of the series.
Oh, shit.
However, it was a massive improvement on the overall mechanics. Ooh, where am I going to put this?
I'm at the edge of my seat with this one. B and C.
I can't put it A because I never enjoyed it like I did these three. But I'm not even sure I enjoyed it as much as I did Demon's Souls. I probably didn't even enjoy it as much as I did Dark Souls 2.
Oh my god. Okay.
I really don't know what to put.
Jesus.
I think I'm being too cruel, in my opinion, if I put it down the list. So I think I'll give him a B. Yeah. I think I'll give him a B. I'm not knocking how good a game it is. It's just... It didn't have that... It didn't hit me the way others did. The others did, like, to be fair. Well,
do you know what that's called? That's called Souls-like fatigue. By the time he got to Elden Ring, he got Souls-like fatigue, which is what I'm kind of feeling a little bit now. Not even in terms of what I'm playing now. I still enjoy playing Night Rain, but the fact that there's a new, what's it called? Neo? Is it Neo? I think it's Neo 3 is coming out. Then there's what's that anime Dark Souls one? Whatever that anime Dark Souls thing is, that's coming out. Oh, Code Vein. There's a new one of those coming out, and then there's the Lies of P DLC. Still haven't finished the original Lies of P. I don't know if I'm too Souls-like fatigued to finish that, to be honest. And I'm having more fun with Night Rain, to be honest. I don't want to go back to it. So yeah, I understand. And playing two different save files of Elden Ring, God. There's some guy who said he played it. I forget who said it, but it's in a Dark Souls news video. Someone who's working on one of the Souls-like said that they played Elden Ring multiple times, like 4 times or something, and I was like, okay, brother, well, there's no way you have time to be a fucking programmer and play Elden Ring 4 times to completion. Like, that's a joke. Especially if you're doing New Game Plus difficulty, which is going to take you even longer because everything's harder. I'll let him close out the video.
That's my first ever tier list. I'm not sure how well that went, so if you guys don't mind, give me some feedback in the comments and everything.
Fuck this tier list, I hate this! No, I'm joking.
And we'll take it from there on the next one. The next one I'll probably do... I'll do a couple of tier lists going forward, if people are interested in that.
He's told me a couple of days planning to do. I won't spoil them here. But subscribe to his channel. I'm going to have his channel and this video linked in the description. So give him a sub. This was a great video.
Final Fantasy I got in mind, although there are quite a few of them I haven't played.
That Elden Ring placement is so unfortunate. I wish he only played it one time all the way through. I think he would have put it in either A or S. Playing 2 at the same time sounds so cancer. It's already a super long game. Playing 2 instances of it? Fuck that, seriously.
Resident Evil. I played majority of the Resident Evils, I believe.
I would hate to do that.
You know, I would take it from there. If people got recommendations, and if they are games that a series that I've played or whatever, we'll just go from there. So if you do like this kind of content, guys, feel free to subscribe and comment and let me know how it all went. But thank you for watching, and hopefully catch you on the next. Until then, take care now.
All right. So, great video. Great video overall. As I said, guys, give him a sub, give him a like, leave a mean comment. What should I type? Oh, look at all the hashtags. Look at how irrelevant Dark Souls 3 is. Dark Souls 3 doesn't even get mentioned. Rest in peace. Okay. What should I say? Let me look at the list and think of something to say. I'm not even gonna correct that. I'm gonna leave it with a mistake. Alright. There's my fucking 200 IQ comment. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed. As I said, let him know how good that video was, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you.